So Mike, I know on your new channel here, Smart with Debt, you're looking at ways to help people be, well, smart with debt, right?
Correct. Yep.
And I know that cash out refinance is a big topic right now. We see the ads, cash out refinance is going to help you. It's going to help you get out of debt right now. What do you think of that?
Well, I think in this current market is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people are making,
Oh, really?
especially with their homes. Each market is a little bit different. But where we sit right now, where interest rates used to be low and now they're a bit high, we look at it just like the average person. The average homeowner is going to do a cash out refinance. Sure, it saves them the money, but it'll probably cost them a minimum of $250,000 just for taking on that little savings. And there's better ways to do it.
You mean like over the course of of their life?
Yep.
Oh, dang.
So the course of the loan, and you put that in perspective, the median retirement savings for someone 55 to 64 is $181,000. Just in one cash out refinance, someone could put themselves back $250,000. That's what this is all about, is making sure people use debt and debt doesn't use them, making sure that they can get the relief that they want, but protect their future too.
So what would you recommend if a cash out refinance is going to set people back so much? What do you recommend them doing instead?
In this current market, like I said, markets changed. Like 2 or 3 years ago, Smart with Debt was more talking about refinance because mortgage rates were low. But in this current environment where everything is, it is a home equity loan. And a home equity loan, what I want to go through is there's a lot of people out there talking about, well, HELOCs have adjustables. You don't know what your payments are going to be. What if it goes up? I am talking about a home equity loan that's fixed. The rate is fixed and the payments are fixed. Because if we're going to talk apples and apples, the mortgage, the cash out refinance that someone's going to do is going to be a fixed rate for a fixed term. So let's talk about taking the same information and making it apples and apples, meaning if we're going to do a mortgage with a fixed rate, let's look at a home equity loan with a fixed rate too.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. Can you give me an example of how this would play out?
So let's take an example of two neighbors. They live in the same neighborhood, have the same house, and they have the same debt, because we want to look at the same information all the way through. To make this even simpler, we're going to use the average numbers in America per Dave Ramsey and his site. So we're going to look at their mortgage, their car, their credit cards, and we're going to see what gets them the relief that they want, which is a monthly payment that is lower, so they have more money to put into their lives, to enjoy their lives, or just to survive or get some relief. And we're going to look at what it does to them long term, because we want to protect them, get them the money now, but also protect their future when we're looking at all these different kind of debt options out there. So let's paint the picture of where they sit right now based on the average, once again from Dave Ramsey's site, the master of debt. And we're going to round the numbers just to make it easier. But if you want the exact numbers and the details, we'll put an Excel spreadsheet below so you can see everything. And we're going to actually do another video that goes through every detail of every number. So if you want to really dive in, but this is just the overview because it's going to be so stunning, the difference in the numbers. You're not going to really need to get into the details, but if you want, we have that information also.
Okay.
So let's look at these numbers. The average mortgage, according to Dave Ramsey, is about $230,000. The average car loan is $37,000, and the average credit card balance is $20,000. So you add all those numbers up to 230, the 37, and the 20, and you get about 290,000. That's where the average person sits. And I know there's a lot of people out there who have larger mortgages, bigger car payments. So this could even ripple through their lives even more than the $250,000 we're talking about.
Okay, so we're talking $290,000 in average debt in the U.S., right? So what does that come out to in terms of their payments each month?
Great point, because that's what they're looking for. If you're doing a cash out refinance, in this market, you're only looking for one thing, which is to get payment relief. You want less going out every month. Based on these numbers, using averages, once again, we have the exact numbers below, but using averages, the mortgage would be about $1,200 a month. Principal and interest, we're not adding taxes and insurance because they're different in each state. We're just talking the base of the loan because everything would be the same if they refinanced or not with the taxes and insurance. So $1,200 a month for PI. On the car loan, it would be about $900 a month. And the credit cards right around $600 a month using a formula that says they're going to pay the interest plus 1% just to get the credit cards down. So on average, they're looking at about $2,700 for the person in our example. So both neighbors have $2,700 a month going out in payments. Next, we need to look at how much are they going to pay on each item if they kept the mortgage, the car, the credit cards to term.
Okay, so how much the interest and the principal is going to add up
It's going to
to?
be when you take your payments until you're finished. So once again, rounding up on the mortgage, it's $388,000 they're going to pay until it's paid off. On the car loan, it's about $44,000, and on the credit card, $33,000. Adding all those numbers up, we know that they're going to pay about $465,000 over the life of those loans. Now we want to compare. Remember, we're looking at what can they save per month, but also not add a lot to the back end. If we're looking at these two people, let's say neighbor one is Jack. Jack jumps in his car, he listens to radio, and all the talking heads out there are talking about debt relief and cash out refinances and save $800 a month. He's hearing this over and over, so he's going to take that path. Jack goes out and does a cash out refinance. He gets a loan for $295,000 because he's going to take his current debt, his mortgage, his car, and his credit card, wrap them all into one loan. The $295,000 covers all those items plus some closing costs. Let's just say he's using a 7% rate because that's very, very competitive in this market. And his payments on this new mortgage are going to be about $2,000.
Okay, so $2,000 a month?
$2,000 a month, just to keep everything simple. So Jack was able to get goal number one hit, which is save monthly. He had $2,700 currently. He refinances now. He saves $700 a month that he could pump into his life, like I said, either to survive, just get some relief, or have some fun. Whatever that is, we're not here to judge what people use the debt for. We just want to make sure they get the best debt to pump more money into their lives.
So this is actually the wrong path, because so far I'm like, oh man, he saved $700 a month. That's great.
So he did get goal number one, but there's two goals when you're looking at doing something. It is the now and the future, and picking the best option.
Yeah.
Because either way, they wanted relief, and we want to just give them the best option where it's not either or. It's not, I get the relief, but I pay in the future. How about you get the relief and not burden your future with a bunch of debt that you don't need to when there's options out there?
All right, so you're saying Jack accomplished goal number one. He has debt relief. He took his monthly payments down $700. But what's goal number two?
Goal number two is not to put your future in jeopardy also, or pay more than you need to. When you're doing a cash out refinance, it's all about giving you some relief now. But Jack, what he did is he put himself into some danger zones. It's going to cost him some money in the future over another option. And all we're saying is debt is not bad. You just got to make sure you take the right option. Okay. So Jack is going to pay $2,000 a month on his new mortgage, principal and interest. A typical mortgage is 360 payments, 30 years. 2,000 times 360. Now he has a debt payment of $720,000 until that's paid in full. If you remember that currently he's sitting on, if he paid everything off, it would be $465,000.
Yeah, before the refinance.
Before the refinance.
Mm-hmm.
But now with the refinance, if he keeps it to term, it's going to be $720,000.
And that's with the competitive interest rate.
That's with the competitive interest rate in this market. And the biggest reason is he's taken a debt, a mortgage that more than likely has a great rate. And we used 4%. There's people out there with their current mortgage who has 3 or even less. The margins would even be larger on something like that. So 720 minus 465, that's $255,000 in debt he's adding to his future. So we want to protect his future plus give him the relief. And that's what we're all about with Smart with Debt, is making sure that you get both. And I don't think a lot of people out there know, because they listen to the radio or they go to Bankrate or they go to some of these other ones. Since they're selling something, they're selling mortgage products, they're selling referrals to mortgage people, they're going to show those examples or what you can do. We're looking at what is the best debt that someone could get into and still reach their goals.
Yeah, it seems like this is not a good deal. In order to get his debt relief monthly, it's costing him $250,000. And based on how much everything costs, it's like this guy's not a multimillionaire. $250,000 is a significant amount of money.
Yeah, and if you take that into account, like I said before, the median retirement for 55 to 64-year-olds is $181,000.
Wow.
And then you take also, we're using a mortgage of $230,000. How many places in the U.S. the mortgage balance is more like $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000? So that would even skew these numbers more in favor of doing something besides a cash out refinance. The problem, I think, and people could comment, let us know, is I think the message out there that they're hearing on the radio through social media and stuff is cash out refinance, get you the relief. They don't talk about the other thing. If that's true, just let us know, because we want to keep doing these things to make sure we pump more money back into middle America, let's call it, the people who need a little bit of help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Reminds me of the old, folk wisdom. Anything that seems too good to be true probably is.
Yep.
So like, yeah, we're going to bring your debt down by $700 a month. And it's like, okay, what's the cost of that?
Yep.
The cost is $250,000 down the road.
But you get $700 a month off. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, classic, like, now versus later.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm feeling a little sad with Jack. What about his neighbor?
So let's look at Jill, his neighbor.
Okay.
Now, Jill does a little more research. She's looking like, what do I do that gets me the relief, but also protects my future, doesn't get me into danger zone later. In this current market, she looks at a home equity loan, which is a mortgage. It's just like the cash out refinance is a mortgage. This is also a mortgage, which means it's a lien on your property. I think the biggest difference is she takes a little more time, does a little more research, and understands there's more than adjustable rates like HELOCs out there for home equity, because home equity line of credit is an adjustable rate. And you'll see and hear a lot of the mortgage companies talk down because it's a HELOC. But you don't have to do a HELOC. There are home equity loans that are fixed rates too. And since Jack, her neighbor, is doing a fixed rate mortgage on his house, we're going to look at Jill doing a fixed rate home equity loan on her property. That way it's apples to apples. The payments are not going to adjust, or the interest rate. So all of those are going to stay the same. It's more like a car loan than a credit card, because HELOCs have kind of credit card features. Interest rates go up and down, payments go up and down. You could draw more money when you want. We're going to look at someone who's just looking to get debt relief and protect their future.
Okay, so to reiterate, Jack went the cash out refinance route, and Jill's going the home equity loan route that we're going to go over now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jill looks at just taking her debt. That's the problem, not her mortgage, because that's at a great rate. She's going to take her car and her credit cards, combine those together. Let's once again use rough numbers. Let's say she takes out a $90,000 loan, which helps pay for some closing costs, skip a payment, all those other things. And she gets a fixed rate at 9%. Over the next 9+ years, she's going to pay about $800 principal and interest on this new home equity loan. So let's see if she reached goal number 1, which is monthly savings. She has a new loan that's $800 a month. And remember, she also has her current mortgage that we looked at before that has a $1,200 a month payment. So the $1,200 and $800, she'll have to pay those going forward. So that's $2,000 per month. It's the exact same numbers in this scenario as doing a cash out refinance. She's going to hit goal number 1. She's going to save about $700 a month.
Okay, same as Jack.
Yep. And she could save more if she wants to term it out, but we're trying to show apples and apples, same savings. But now let's look at what the home equity loan in her path does for her future. She's going to have to pay this home equity loan and her current loan off, and let's see what that does to the total debt she has compared to both the cash out refinance and where she's sitting now. So she reached goal number 1. How about goal number 2? If we look at the numbers, she owes about $388,000 for her current mortgage over the next 27 years. And on her new home equity loan, she owes about $88,000 over the next 9 years and 2 months. Add those two numbers together, we come up with $476,000. Compare that to the $720,000 the cash out refinance is going to be, and we see the difference between doing a cash out refinance and doing a home equity loan is about $244,000. Because the home equity loan does cost a few thousand, but it's just a few thousand compared to $250,000. So the difference between these two, they both save $700 a month, is that one is going to pay $244,000 more over their life of those loans than the other person. So one person took a route because it was easy, because it was on TV, and they encumbered their future. While the other person did, which was smart, got the same relief, but protected their future by putting less debt on it. When you're doing a cash out refinance, it is for one purpose in this environment, and that's to give you some relief, to survive, whatever it may be. It may not be the best as far as getting out of debt, but we're not talking about getting out of debt with Smart with Debt. We're just talking about whatever situation you're getting into, if it's buying a car, if it's carrying balances on your credit card, or doing a refinance, what's the smartest strategy to keep more money in your life than in the banker's life?
So I know we mentioned Dave Ramsey's data before. This is not exactly like a debt snowball strategy to pay off debt, but this is, if you're looking at payment relief every month, and that's a priority for you,
in this particular example, yes.
Yeah. If that's where you're at, then you could do cash out refinance, and that's going to cost you a lot, if I'm hearing right. And that's what Jack did. But if you go the route that Jill's going, again, we're just focusing on debt relief, you are not burdening yourself tremendously in the future in comparison to a cash refinance.
Correct. Those two people in the future are going to live different lives because someone's going to have less money in their life based on their choices that they've made. And I know what people will say is like, well, I'm not going to keep the loan for 30 years, so it's not going to cost me that. But if you look at it even after year 1, it's like $13,000 different. Year 2, it's almost $27,000. After year 10, it's in the $90,000 range of difference. So every year, it's just not a good choice to make those kind of decisions. That's what our whole focus here is about getting you in the right debt so you could get to a platform. So if someday you wanted to go do the debt snowball or whatever, you're paying less for the amount you're taking out, so you could do that faster. Because if I am paying 3 or 4% less for my debt, we talked about this before, but people have more debt in their lives over the course of their life than they have money in their savings account or retirement. They have a mortgage for $400,000 or $500,000. They have cars. Over their lifespan, they just have more debt. So how do you manage it to keep more money into your life? That's what we are about with Smart with Debt.
Okay, so if somebody wants to know more, has some questions, what are some good next steps?
I think a good next step is maybe look at all of the numbers, like the actual numbers out to the penny. We'll have a spreadsheet below. We'll actually do another video. It'll be up above that goes through all of these different numbers for the people who want real detail and to see where all these numbers come from. Because this is math. Like I said, it's simple. We're not trying to hide anything. Or if you're looking at what do I do next as a homeowner, we have a Smart with Debt scorecard below you could download. And you could run through the numbers, just high-level numbers, simple numbers, because they'll be so revealing which way to go. Is it cash out refinance or a home equity loan? It's good for you in your future to take that 5 to 10 minutes, do this on your own numbers, and see the savings you could have, not only monthly, but long-term. And if you have any questions about this or anything else with being smart with debt, just comment below. We'll get back to you. We're trying to help Middle America get back to Middle America where they have more money in their lives so they could do more stuff and enjoy life more. I mean, this is all about putting more money into your life so you can enjoy it more. If you want to go debt-free, great. If you just want to save retirement or go buy that boat or whatever, why pay the bank the money you could be using in your life?
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you helping people be more smart with debt.
Thank you.